Hey guys, it's me, Alfie chat. I'm back for another video, and in this video I'm going to be doing something different. I'm going to be starting a brand new series on the channel called Alfie Theory. In this series I'm going to be talking about my theories on video games, movies, books, basically anything I can think of a theory of. So if you want to see more of this, series, then please like this video and subscribe. But in today's specific video, I am going to be talking about a theory I have on the Angry Birds franchise, a franchise I've covered many times on my channel already. But before I get this video started, I'd like to say that a large amount of people who watch my content are currently not subscribed. So if you like what you see and you'd like me to continue to make these types of videos, then please subscribe. It's completely free and it's greatly appreciated. But anyways, back to the video. So I know what you're wondering, Alfie, how can something as simple as Angry Birds how can you make a theory on something as simple as Angry Birds? And to that I see your point, but as a person who's been playing the game since like 2013ish, I have a theory that stuck with me for quite a while now that I've been wanting to make a video about, and that is on the whole universe and timeline of Angry Birds. In my opinion, I think all of the classic Angry Birds games are connected in one big universe. Okay, hear me out. Before you go talking about how silly I am in the comments, please just let me explain. There is a way this timeline works, and I personally think the timeline starts with Angry Birds Stella. Angry Birds Stella, I believe, takes place during Stella's childhood, before Stella even, before Stella met the birds. I think it takes place in Stella's childhood before her friends all grow up and basically just move on to other things. I feel like that explains why we don't get to see them in the Angry Birds classic games. I feel like it takes place during Stella's childhood before her friends grow up and basically, move on to other things. Next up in the timeline, I believe, is Angry Birds Classic, which I believe that it takes place after Angry Birds Stella. I feel like Angry Birds Classic takes place maybe a couple years after the events of Angry Birds Stella on a different island, Piggy Island, because for those of you who don't know, Angry Birds Stella doesn't take place on Piggy Island. It takes place on a separate island called Golden Island. So yeah, a bit of Angry Birds knowledge for you there. But anyways, I feel like Angry Birds Classic takes place after Angry Birds Stella, which gives us a glimpse onto what the birds on the other islands are currently doing, fighting their green pig friends. I feel like Piggy Island is not the only island with pigs on it. We see pigs in Angry Birds Stella, of course. But after that, I feel like Angry Birds Rio comes in. Angry Birds Rio, I believe, takes place after Angry Birds Classic, and you're probably wondering, why doesn't Angry Birds Seasons take place after Angry Birds Classic? Well, we'll get to that later, just stick around. I feel like Angry Birds Rio takes place after Angry Birds Classic, where the birds basically get kidnapped and taken to Rio, where they see humans and whatever. We don't see humans in the game, but it takes place in Rio, so I'm just going to assume that we see humans in the game. But yeah, the whole thing happens in Angry Birds Rio. If you've played the game, you know. But yeah, Angry Birds Rio takes place after Angry Birds Classic, not Angry Birds Seasons. I believe Angry Birds Seasons comes in the timeline second, like after Angry Birds Rio. I feel like Angry Birds Seasons takes place after Angry Birds Rio, where the Angry Birds learn a lot about like human traditions and stuff like that, and they basically take inspiration and start celebrating their holidays. This is also where I believe Stella leaves Golden Island and moves on to other stuff. I believe this is where we get to meet Stella, because for those of you who don't know, Stella actually originated in Angry Birds Seasons, and I feel like Angry Birds Seasons is where the birds met Stella. I feel like Angry Birds Seasons is like a pinpoint to where the the direction that the Angry Birds franchise goes in next, which I'm going to be talking about now. After Angry Birds Seasons comes Angry Birds Space, where the birds get taken to, well, space, and the birds have to go after these pigs that are in space. I'm not sure if you've watched the trailer. It never really explains what kind of pigs took the eggs. We just realize all we know is that they are pigs that took the eggs, and they follow Icebird into space. Now you're probably wondering, do they return back to their like, you know, world after. Well, no, I feel like the Angry Birds franchise continues to go into space with the Angry Birds Star Wars franchise. Angry Birds Star Wars 1 and 2 is the last bit on this little timeline I created. Angry Birds Star Wars is the furthest we go into the future, like way in the future. The birds are like, you know, advanced enough to make like, you know, make civilizations and stuff on other planets, the birds and pigs. And there's actually proof that this game and Angry Birds Space are connected, because if you look in the trailer of Angry Birds Star Wars, you can actually see like a laser bird from Angry Birds Space in the background of one of the trailers. So it's not that, like, you know, it's likely it's not that like, you know, it's not, I don't know, but yeah, but what I'm trying to say is that it's most likely, you know, canon, because there's a lot of references to Angry Birds Space and Angry Birds Star Wars, so it's not all out of the question. But yeah, guys, that is my Angry Birds timeline theory. I feel like I feel like I've done a pretty good job trying to put the Angry Birds games into like a timeline. Now you're probably wondering, what about spin-off games? What about Angry Birds Go and Angry Birds Epic? What about Angry Birds 2? Well, I've decided to leave those out, guys. I might make a future theory or something discussing them. I just wanted to stick to the main games, not spin-offs. I also don't really consider Angry Birds 2 to be canon, because the games literally have completely different art styles and all that, and plus, where the hell did Silver come from? So yeah, that's basically my theory on what the timeline of Angry Birds is. Please tell me if I did a good job on trying to do this. Please tell me in the comments what thing you'd like me to make a theory on next, or if you think I should cover the spin-off games or whatever in a future video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in whatever I make next. Goodbye, everyone.